O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining far through the shadows dim, giving the light for those who long have gone, guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star,
beautiful star
of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, the hope, the grace for the redeemed, the good and blessed, yonder in glory when the crown is won. Jesus is now the star divine, brighter and brighter he will shine. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star, of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on, shine on.
Praise God this morning. Man, I like that song. Beautiful, beautiful star of Bethlehem. Shine on, shine on, shine on. And, oh, Lord have mercy. She, I tell Cleo every day, because she's got to come in here and do the scriptures, and I say, I'll be on at 10 o'clock, and I was on at 10:03, 1:03 her time in the morning, so I'm being told that I'm 3 minutes late today, so I'm 3 minutes late. That's all right. What? Anyway, I'm creeping in 3 minutes. Okay, I'm creeping in 3 minutes. We're grateful that you're with us today, and we're glad that you can be with us. That's a beautiful song. By the way, that's off of our Christmas hymn project. And Beautiful Star Bethlehem. That was recorded by my dear friend Chris Solomon. I just want to say this about Chris. Please remember the Allman family in your prayer. I haven't heard from him this morning as the time we're going on the show. But I talked to him yesterday. His mother is not doing well at all. And she is likely hopefully and prayerful the Lord's going to spare her, but right now it's not looking too good, and it's a matter of days. She is older. This is not something that's sudden. She's been going downhill, but our prayers for my buddy. and Kim and Chris Allman. Please remember them this morning in your prayer and so forth. We're grateful that you're here today. And Joe, I am not a tardy teacher. I am not a tardy teacher. All I got to say is them Greeks are tough on us. Them Greeks. Them Greeks are tough. I mean, they're tough. Oh, Lord have mercy. That's all I got to say. But we're grateful for the Greek that's in here this morning because she put some scriptures in. And we're grateful. We're grateful. We're grateful for Miss Cleo today. And we're grateful for all of you. By the way, I do want to tell you, if you go to spiritjournals.org, spiritjournals.com, and actually, I take that back, macmanmusic.com, click on Music Gallery. And actually, if you go to the Christmas Gallery, if you just hit the Christmas link, we've got an applet now that's got all of our Christmas music on it. 60 songs, every one of them. And you can download each one of them individually. And you can purchase them individually or purchase them corporately, however you want to do it. It definitely helps the show. And all the proceeds of those Christmas CDs go to keeping the Bible studies going. And it's going to be going toward our radio network next year. We start a program in January, and I've got some announcements we'll make about that next week. But we need your prayers for that, folks, and your donations definitely are needed. It's going to be needed for that, and we're excited. We're probably going to be doing it at 10 o'clock at night, right after the McFiles regular broadcast, and it may be simulcast. You may be hearing it here on the network. We're going to be changing the network name in January. Don't want to give that away just yet, but we're going to be changing the name of it. And then the Faith Network could be changed, and also what's Bible study would be the same. It's going to be on the same place. It'll be the same place where you're listening to it now, but it just have a different name. But a lot of changes coming in January for the best. A little refreshing, regrouping. But get you some Christmas music. If you like that song, you can download that at our website, macmanmusic.com. We don't have any CDs. We gave them all away last year. And a lot of people like those hymns. They like those Christmas hymns. We hadn't ordered any this year. We need to order some more for next year. But we do have them on download. And encourage you to get a copy of that if you like that song. All right, now, let's talk about what we were talking about yesterday. And I sure thought Cleo would give me a laugh. I thought that would make her laugh about her 3-minute tardy remark. But as I said, those Greeks are tough. That's all I got to say. Cleo does rock. Cleo does rock, that's for sure. And I do want you to, let me do this real quick because I want to show you something this morning. While I'm getting this map together, I'm going to just ask some general questions to see if you've been listening. And we're going to see if I want to download these maps. I just sent them to my email because I really want us to look at, hang on just one second. Let's see here. Download that. There we go. And let's see here. We were talking yesterday about this image of Daniel that Nebuchadnezzar, this king, saw. And he, hang on just one second. I'm going to put this in here. I want to take these out and move them to the regular downloads so we can look at them. And this one too. This image that Daniel saw, or Nebuchadnezzar saw, and I'm using this is Brother Swaggart's image of it. It's not as good as the one that, nothing against Brother Swaggart, it's just I've got a better one that's got basically the breakdown of the thing. And there were 4 parts of this image, 5 parts of this image that represent empires of the past. Let me do a little summary teaching. Nebuchadnezzar was a king. He was head of the Babylonian Empire. And he had this dream. And he saw this image in his dream. It troubled him so much. We read the whole 2nd chapter of Daniel yesterday for those of you that were here. It troubled him so much that he basically decreed if anybody, his astrologers, magicians, occultists, psychics, mediums, all of them, they couldn't tell him what it was. And they sure couldn't interpret it. They couldn't even tell him what the dream was because he forgot the dream. And Daniel and all, when they were taken captive into Babylon, Daniel was considered a wise man in the kingdom. He would be elevated into this government after this event. But there was a decree that Nebuchadnezzar sent out that if none of the wise men in Babylon could tell him what this dream was, he was going to kill them all. And Daniel went to the Lord with it, went to his companions with it. The Lord, in a night vision, gives Daniel the same vision. He sees this very vision, but God, the difference with Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, God gave Daniel the interpretation. And what Daniel was seeing was literally empires, and that's our subject today, empires of the past, present, and future that are controlled by the devil. But in Nebuchadnezzar's mind, he sees these empires as precious metals. He sees these as gold, silver, brass, iron, and then the feet at the bottom, he sees a mix. He sees a mix of clay and iron. And there are 10 toes on that image. Those 10 toes represent nations that are going to be formed, a 10-nation confederacy that's going to be of the iron. And we read that to you yesterday. They are of the iron, meaning that they're going to be part of the old Roman Empire. I want to go back to our outline this morning. I encourage you to have your notebook ready. I think somebody asked Joe how many notebooks she had. You better be getting more than what you got, Joe, because you're going to need it over this next few weeks. Babylon, Persia, Grecian, Roman, Revised Roman Empire, and the final one's the 8th. Now, the question is asked, and I've been asked this before on a Bible study, and I've asked myself this question: why wasn't Egypt and Assyria seen? Because we've sort of laid out that there are 6 kingdoms of the past that have persecuted Israel, Egypt being the first. The reason for it, that Egypt and Assyria were passed in Daniel's day. Daniel was seeing it from his time on. I'm sure Daniel was aware of the history of the children of Israel. He was a Jew, he's a Hebrew, and I'm sure that he was very much aware of her history, and he was very much aware of what took place. But as far as what God was showing Daniel, it really was irrelevant what had happened in the past. God was showing Daniel from the time he was in Babylon right on through this time right now. So this image wouldn't have really made a big difference. You can't rewind the past. So that's why Egypt and Assyria are not seen on this image. This image starts at the top. It starts with the head of gold. And that is Babylon. And we'll read that. I want to go back to Daniel 2 this morning. By the way, verse of the day, Ecclesiastes 3:1, to every season, to everything there's a season, a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which was planted. Boy, we've been living that. I know that without a doubt lately. All right, Daniel 2:31. Let's look at this. Daniel, this is where he begins to tell Nebuchadnezzar about his image. And remember, Nebuchadnezzar had basically threatened the kings. He had threatened the wise men that if they couldn't tell him what it was, he would kill them all. And he says, "O thou king, behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible." And the form thereof was terrible. And then he goes on to say this. Look at this. "The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and then his feet was can't talk today, part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet. And his feet are key, folks. The image strikes his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. And he says, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces. Let me explain all that to you in layman's terms. What Daniel is seeing, again, from his time on, he was in Babylon. He's seeing the future of every empire that would come after Babylon that would persecute Israel. And it goes back to our little chart here that we've showed you yesterday, and really we've been showing it to you for many weeks now. But Egypt was the first nation. Assyria, the empire, was the second nation. Let me go ahead and I'm going to do this. Let me just sort of add a little bit to this chart here, which may help you understand it just slightly better. I know we've got some new folks coming in that they're saying, what in the world is he talking about? Well, we've been talking about the dragon and how he controls these nations and how he controls nations of, let me just do this. And then we're going to do it like this. That way we'll have a little bit of uniformity in the outline. There we go. Legs of iron, not thighs of brass. That is thighs of brass. Chris cannot spell. There we go. All right, what he is seeing right there is, again, from Babylon on, he's seeing images of empires that are to come in the future. And it starts right here. Babylon is the beginning. Because, again, Daniel was living during the time of Babylon. And he goes all the way up to the revised Roman Empire. Let me come back over here and say something about this. The revised Roman Empire is yet future. That's the only empire on that list that has not come into existence as of today. We're really in a pause right now between Kingdom 6 and Kingdom 7 because there's no confederacy of nations that is out there that you could say is doing this as a corporate group. There are many nations that are persecuting Israel, but these nations are going to coalesce into a confederacy probably right after the rapture. The Antichrist is going to be head over these nations. They're going to probably appoint him as head of these nations. In time, he's going to destroy 3 of them. He's going to uproot 3. The Bible tells us that. We're going to read this in Daniel in just the next chapter when we go to Daniel 7. You'll see all this. And then he is going to take power, consolidate power in the middle part of the Great Tribulation period, break that peace treaty with Israel. These nations are going to make a peace covenant with Israel. And the Antichrist will confirm that covenant, basically making it with her himself. And there's a lot of debate about whether they're going to just say he's the Messiah or they'll fear him. I don't know. I believe they're going to accept him as the Messiah. Christ was not what they wanted as their Messiah. Christ did not fit their bill. Their bill of a Messiah was a military leader, somebody that could break Rome's power off of them, somebody that would ride in on a glorious horse. That's why when Christ rode on that donkey, it sort of blew their image of their Messiah to pieces, but yet you have people crying, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna. And I believe it was people that recognized this king. They recognized the lowly king. Israel's spiritual and religious leadership and their civil leadership didn't. They were expecting the Messiah to ride in with armies and tanks and say, I'm here to liberate you from Rome. And Christ didn't do that. And when he didn't do that, they decided that it would be best to accept a thief. When Pilate went to them and said, which one do you want, Barabbas or Christ? And they said, Barabbas. Well, give us Barabbas. Well, God's given them Barabbas ever since. And then in that declaration that day, when right before Christ gave up the ghost and gave up the spirit, and the religious leadership of Israel of that day made the statement, and it's a statement that's haunted the Jewish people for nearly 2,000 years, folks, when he said, his blood be upon us. But we talked about this Sunday night with Jerusalem. Jerusalem's called the city of peace, and that city has not experienced peace at all. And it's not going to experience peace. It's going to experience false peace for a season. But a lot of this false peace is going to come from those 10 toes on this image. If you notice, the legs of iron they delve into these 10 kingdoms, and then they're mixed with miry clay, meaning, and like Daniel said, he said they're going to mingle together. They won't be as strong as the iron, but they're of the iron, meaning that they're going to be of the old Roman Empire. Now, I want to look at a couple of maps this morning, and I want to show you a few things that will help you understand this, put this in perspective just a little bit, and just bear with me because I know that some of you are sort of new, and I'm trying to make sure that we get this through to you. I'm going to try to take this as slow as I can. I'm going to go to this map first. This is the Babylonian Empire. This is the head of gold. Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar, he said, you're the head of gold. This was the first empire. This was Daniel's day. And you can see that the Babylonian Empire in the purple there, it basically encompassed Iraq, northern Saudi Arabia, all of Israel, Turkey, Syria, and it's basically from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates River. Babylon was right in the center of Iraq. I want to just, if I can get my, I need a whiteboard here. Let me see if I can get a whiteboard up. There we go. Let me do this. Yep. Iraq is right here. In Babylon, the city, Babylon was a city in Iraq. It's modern day Iraq. It was called Chaldea. That's where actually Ur of the Chaldees, when you hear Abraham's term Ur of the Chaldees, that's where he came from. And he migrated into the promised land of Israel when God called him. So Abraham was an Iraqi. And Ur of the Chaldees was in that general part. But that's where Babylon is. And that is where I believe, folks, that the Antichrist himself is going to have his first headquarters. When he basically makes this peace treaty with Israel, he's going to be in that same neck of the woods, so to speak, okay? Now, that's the Babylonian Empire. That was the head of gold. That was the head of gold that Daniel said that it was Nebuchadnezzar. And again, this is where Daniel and the Hebrew children were right here in that region of the world where it says Iraq. But his territory, Nebuchadnezzar was sent by God to basically, here's Israel over here. He conquered the nation. He basically brought it back into Iraq, into captivity. And he is that head of gold. Now, let's look at the second empire that Daniel saw, and that was the Medes and the Persians. And let's see which one. This is the Persian Empire right here. And this was under Darius the Mede. And let me see if I can get this bigger for you. And so forth. I hope I'm thinking about when we get to the prophetic study of Revelation, we're going to move our little area. I'm going to have a map behind me. I'm going to push this desk out a little bit. And I'm going to be standing up, and I'll be illustrating this to you on a regular map. But I think the digital maps, as far as your phones and computers, you probably can see it better this way anyway. But look at the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire includes a lot more territory than even Nebuchadnezzar's. It includes all of Egypt. It included Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Turkey, Israel, Lebanon, Syria. You can see all that. It does not include Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar. But that was the area of Darius the Mede, Xerxes. A couple of Bible stories out of this to share with you. This is where Haman, the great enemy of Israel, the first organized effort that we know of to destroy the Jews, took place in this region of the world. It took place right through here in Iran. This is modern day Persia right there. And let me see here. Did I delete my whiteboard? I deleted my whiteboard. So let's come back here and let's get another whiteboard out. And this is where the great Haman, the evil Haman, was located at right there. And that is the Persian Empire. This was seen on that image as the arms and the breast of silver. Gold, silver. Gold, silver. Gold, silver. And I've got something to say about the connection of that, because silver is a lesser metal than gold, but it is still considered a precious metal. But the qualities of silver is less. It's not as expensive. Gold is the highest precious metal there is. And you say, well, why would Nebuchadnezzar be seen as gold? Well, I guess ultimately God only knows that, but I will tell you what I believe. Nebuchadnezzar would lose his mind. If you read Daniel on out, Daniel 2, 3, 4, if you read Daniel 3 and 4, it talks about him going crazy. He basically, it was right after he threw the 3 Hebrew children into the furnace, and he lost his mind and started crawling on the ground, eating grass. And Daniel prayed for him. And in praying for him, God restored Nebuchadnezzar. And at some point in Nebuchadnezzar's life, he acknowledged the God of heaven. And folks, for a Babylonian king to do that, that was a miracle. Because Babylonians had so many false gods, they made the Egyptians blush. Babylon had all sorts of false gods, just like the Egyptians. All of these nations, folks, were basically controlled by demon spirits. They were controlled by heathen deities, and they worshipped heathen deities. Persia was no different. Persia had plunged the world into some kind of chaotic disorder of nothing but idol worship. It was some of the most worst, the greatest debauchery and some of the most evil, wicked worship practices of baby killing and infanticide, baby burning, human sacrifice, sexual orgies. I mean, you could name it. Both empires were reeked with it, but Nebuchadnezzar came to his senses. And at the end, when he turned the kingdom, when he died, Belshazzar took over, and he was wicked. And that is the passage in Daniel 5 where the finger appeared on the wall during that party that night. And God told Belshazzar, he said, your kingdom has been found wanting. You've been weighing the balances. You've been found wanting. And you've been found waiting. And the balance is not right. And it sort of goes back to what we talked about with Libra, the balance is being off scale. Well, God basically wrote that on a wall one night to this Babylonian king. And if you read the passage in Daniel 5, Darius the Mede, Darius broke into the home that night of Belshazzar and cut his head off. He killed him. He killed, and that was the end of the Babylonian Empire's rule. And then Darius took the Persian Empire. He took what was Babylon and expanded it, and that's what he expanded it to. But later on, in the history of Persian kings, Xerxes came on the scene, and that's where Esther had to plead for the Jews' life, because the Jews were basically threatened for the first time as a group because of Haman. And that was this empire right here, and that gives you an idea. All right. So, are you with me this morning? Say amen. But that was the Persian Empire. And then Daniel sees something else. He sees another empire. The next empire he sees is the Grecian Empire. And that is really the empire of Alexander the Great. And this is this empire right here. And if you'll look at this one, it's very powerful. And I want you to, I'm going to bring this over my face. It's not important you see me anyway. This is the empire around 326, about 300 years before Christ. Alexander basically took what Persia did and he expanded it even further. And by the way, Greece, if you notice up there in the northwest part, the Persian Empire and the Babylonian Empire did not include Greece, but the Alexander ruled in Greece, and you can notice that that line up here to the northwest area there includes Greece. It starts including parts of Europe up in here. This is where Alexander the Great ruled from. And then he expanded his territory all the way almost to India. He died right here. Alexander the Great died in India, and he was trying to further his conquest, and his conquest was stopped right here because he died at 32 of age syphilis. Now, when he died of syphilis, his kingdom was divided into 4 generals in 301 BC. Ptolemy, Cassander, Lysimus, and Seculus took his kingdom and divided it into 4 parts. Those 4 parts were Greece, Egypt, Turkey, and this right here is considered basically the Assyrian Empire. I can't write with my line. I'm going to put Assyrian Empire. This area right here is basically that was the old Assyria. It was called Syria in the Bible, but it was really Assyria, and it included this territory. Keep this in mind. Let me get a white marker on here because maybe you can see it better. Let me do this. This right here, folks, this right here, if my whiteboard will work on for me now, come on, work for me. There we go. This area right here is the old Syrian Empire. Turkey, Egypt, and Greece. Turkey, Egypt, and Greece, and then Iraq, modern-day Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Afghanistan, parts of Pakistan. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9, 10. Wow. Wow. An interesting number, huh? Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you count Pakistan, that would be 10. But Jordan is not included in this, and I'll explain why later. But perhaps Pakistan, but also if you draw this line up from Turkey, folks, into this area of the world right here, these, at this time, this map was drawn by Brother Swigert back in the early 80s. Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Romania. Some of these nations don't exist anymore. They've changed their names. And then you get up into here, this is the Russia-Soviet Union area. All of this area right now, here, is considered the Ukraine over here, to Uzbekistan, around the Black Sea. So keep that in mind, because I've got my idea about these 10 nations. I do not believe Afghanistan is going to be one of the 10. I believe the other nations or 2 that's coming into this confederacy is going to be over here. And let me explain that more in a minute. But this is the Empire of Alexander. This was the Grecian Empire that Daniel saw. This is what he saw. Daniel will also see this right here that's coming up here shortly. Just bear with me on that. That'll be in next week. You'll have to come back next week to see this. But in this image, he saw this as the thigh or the stomach of brass. The brass. You had gold, silver, brass. This was the Grecian Empire. The thighs of brass. The thighs of brass. Alrighty. Now, another empire that he saw that was very important, and let me do this and let me get that off. Are you with me this morning? I'm trying to show you these on a map so you can understand them. The final thing that he saw, at least on that image, was modern day Rome. And here it is right here. This is the mighty Roman Empire. And this is an interesting map too. And I want you to look at the Roman Empire. It expands westward, not eastward. But it still includes Iraq, Iran. Hang on just a second. Let me get my whiteboard back out here. Y'all are getting a head start, folks. We'll be doing this again on Wednesday night, sometime next year, when we get to this port. Iraq, Syria, Turkey. It does not include Iran, and I'll explain that more in a minute. The Romans did not conquer Iran. They went west. They went to, this is the former Soviet Union right through here. These were Soviet-dominated states. Germany, France, Spain, Algeria, Northern Africa. There's Libya, Egypt. And then here's Israel, Syria. The Romans control all of this. Greece is there. Greece is right there, right in the middle of their control. That was the Roman Empire. That was what they controlled for many a century. And this is where a great deal of the persecution, and of course, they were centered right here in Rome, Italy. That was the sort of the center of their power was Rome, Italy. And if you think about that, this was under Trajan. That was when they were probably at their apex. But I want you to notice this. You've got the western part, and then you've got the eastern part over here. Now, let me explain this to you a little bit this morning. And again, I'm teaching you this not to give you geography, but these are very, very important maps, because I'm going to tell you this is going to play into Bible prophecy, folks, and this is why you need to keep an eye. When you hear stories coming out of this region of the world, this is why this is so important. Everything I just showed you, Daniel saw it on that image. Nebuchadnezzar saw it too, but he didn't know what he was seeing. But God told Daniel exactly what he was seeing. He saw the head of gold. He saw the head of gold, which is, hang on just a second, let me get this off here. Let me refresh that. He saw the head of gold, the body of silver, the arms and the chest of silver, the thighs of brass, the legs of iron. Rome was seen as an iron. Those four empires I just showed you are those four right there. Gold, silver, brass, and iron. Iron being the strongest, but yet it's the most dullest. Brass shines, but it's duller than silver. And gold is the top precious metal of them all. That's how Nebuchadnezzar saw the kingdoms of his present time all the way down to the end. But he also saw this down here. He saw 2 feet. He saw 10 toes, and they were mixed. They were mixed of iron. They were mixed with clay. Let me give you something to ponder this morning. I'm going to ask you a question out there in the chat room. What is the one thing that connects nations? Give me some things to talk about. What connects cultures in our state of affairs in the world? What unifies these nations many times? Can somebody give me that? What connects Western Europe with Eastern Europe? What are some things that connects the two Europes? Anybody want to take a guess at that? I'm curious what kind of comments I'm going to get here. What connects Western Europe to Eastern Europe? Because that's what you're looking at right there. Economics, glory, without a doubt. That's one thing. There's something else, though. There's other things that do it. Not roads, Joe. Culture, Sandy, that's right. But I'm talking about culture itself. Ideologies, Jimmy, you're getting closer. You're getting warmer. Lisa, not necessarily language, because a lot of these nations don't speak the same language. They don't speak the same language. Some of them do, but some of them don't. Jimmy's getting warm. What usually connects nations? And they're not the boundaries. Religion, Joe. Bingo, 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 Joe, right there. Their religious beliefs. What two religions connect Eastern Europe and Western Europe? What two religions control those two regions of the world that I just showed you? Somebody want to put that in there for me? Somebody want to put faith, Cleo? There you go, faith. Somebody tell me what two religions connect those two regions of the world that I just showed you? Somebody want to take a guess? There's really three. There's three religions. What three religions? Catholicism's one. What three religions connect Western Europe to Eastern Europe? Catholic, Islam. And what's the other one? What's the other one? There's another one. There's another one. Orthodox. Orthodox Christianity. Thank you. Cleo's got it. It's Orthodox. Let me go back and put that map back up there, folks. Let me put that map back up there. Let me tell you what you're looking at right there. Let me go back here to my whiteboard. This, let me refresh this. And I got a reason for saying this because this is what I believe what that iron and clay represent. Hang on just a second. Let me, the western part of this world right here, folks, at one point, Europe was Christianized. When Constantine started this area was Christian, and basically Judaism was what connected this part right through here, Israel. But Islam did not come on the scene to 600 AD, basically 600 years after Christ. And Islam took a foothold right here. Catholicism didn't started taking a hold maybe to 1500 AD. So to be honest with you, this area of the world, by the way, modern Turkey, folks, is where Jesus is addressed in those churches. Christianity had a stronghold in Europe for many a century. Let me come back over here and look at you and talk to you about that. For many a century, folks, the first century church evangelized. Paul's missionary journeys took him to Rome. Paul didn't get past Rome. They beheaded him there. But the Christian influence of the church went great and deep into Europe and the Middle East. Christianity and Judaism, I would say Christianity more so than Judaism, but Judaism was strong in that area. Islam came on the scene in 600 AD. Catholicism came on around 1500 AD. And we studied that in the Church of Thyatira. So all of these religions control these nations. All of these religions in some form or another. One of those four religions I just mentioned, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Catholicism. And you say Christianity ain't Catholicism? Nope, it sure ain't. Nope, it sure ain't. Catholicism and Islam have been at odds. Christianity and Islam have been at odds. I would say in some ways Judaism and Christianity, we don't share the same value with the Messiah. They don't believe in a Messiah that we do. They don't believe in our Messiah. They don't believe in Christ. They will one day. But one thing about Judaism, it's not, and Judaism's, we're rooted in the Judaism of the first church because the first church was Jews. Basically, they were Jewish. The antagonism of Islam to Judaism is hot. And the animosity between Catholicism and Islam is hot. And the antagonism between the Catholic Church and Jews has always been bad. Look, folks, these crusades that the Catholic Church did was nothing but to purge. They claimed it was to purge Islam out of the Middle East, and it did just the opposite. It inflamed Islam, and it basically led to the slaughter of many a Jew. They were crucifying Jews in Jerusalem. The Catholic Church was. This was Catholics. It wasn't the Islams that were doing it. It was Catholics. The Christians get blamed for those crusades. It wasn't Christianity that did that. It was Catholicism. I love you Catholics out there. Don't get mad at me, but let's just talk straight. Catholicism, folks, is not Christianity. It's not. It's a separate religion to itself. By the way, the true church is not the church in Rome. That's not the true church. And the head of the church is not the one wearing the funny hat in Rome. What I believe is going to happen with this union, this 10-nation confederacy, and somebody help me out here. I know Cleo's going to know this, and other of you that study history. What took place with the good old-fashioned Catholic Church and the Roman Empire? What happened to the Roman Empire? Can somebody tell me that? Somebody tell me that. What happened to the Roman Empire? Somebody, you want to take a guess of what happened to the Roman Empire? Somebody want to take place, tell me what happened to the Roman Empire? It busted into two, didn't it? It busted into two. It busted into an Eastern division. There you go, John. It split. It split. It split. There was a schism. And how was it split? It was split into a Western division and an Eastern division. We're going to talk about that more when we get into Daniel 7, because you're going to see that these 10 nations, folks, that are coming out of this old Roman Empire. Let me go back and put you that map on there. The 10 nations, folks, are the 10 toes. Whatever comes out of this new revised Roman Empire, it's going to have to come from these nations right here. Let me get my whiteboard working again. Hang on just a second. It's going to have to come from this region of the world. Now, I know some of you are asking, well, why wouldn't Iran be part of that? Because wouldn't they be opposed to Israel? Wouldn't they be in tune with the destruction of the Jews? And why would they not be interested in a peace treaty and so forth? Let me tell you this about the Iranians, folks. The Iranians are Persian. The Iraqis are not. The Iraqis are Iraqis. That's another thing about the Middle East. Bill Federer in January has promised to come back, and he is going to give us a bird's eye history lesson on the Middle East, and I can't wait. We did Christmas this time, but in January he's coming back, and he is going to give us a history from his viewpoint with his charts and everything. And I'm going to be sitting there with my notebook out. I've studied this a lot, but I'm still a little wet behind the ears on these religions and the history of each nation. But there's never been any love lost between Iraq and Iran. As you know, in 1988, the mid-'80s, late 80s, right after the hostage crisis, Iran attacked Iraq, and Saddam Hussein, basically, they went to war with each other, and I really believed it saved America from getting into a Middle East conflict with Iran, because Iraq basically did our dirty work for us, and they gassed the Iranians. I mean, it was brutal what happened between those two countries. Millions perished during that conflict in the mid to late 80s. And I'm not going to sit here and get into who was the Americans involved in it, was the CIA involved in it. I don't care, don't matter. What was happening, though, the Middle East was getting realigned. The Middle East was getting realigned. Now, let me talk about the Middle East realignment. Let me talk to you about this, because this is very important. Whatever comes of this 10-nation confederacy, whatever comes of it, has got to come out of this empire. This was the Roman Empire at its apex. So whatever 10 nations come from there has got to develop from here. But remember, you had two divisions. This is the Eastern Division. This is the Western Division. This is all mainly Catholicism right now, even though Islam's trying to take it over. This up here is communism. This down here is mainly Islam. Christianity is losing its control, and you've got sort of a mix of religions in Europe right now. And I want to bring your attention to something. I'm going to wrap this up and let you ask some questions here this morning. I know that this has been a lot to chew on again. I want you to look at this area of the world right up here. This is the former Soviet Union, and though outside the old Roman Empire, there was a time that these nations were under the control of the Soviet Union. Now, let me explain why that's important. While the old Roman Empire is in that territory, there is nothing that says that these 10 nations cannot come out from that general area. And there was times when the Roman Empire did basically control all of that area up to, because the communists didn't take over in 1917. That part of Europe was basically under the domination of Rome. The communists took it over in 1917. Rome went away when they ransacked Israel in 135 AD, and they lasted another 250 years. I think it was around 300 or 400 AD. They went away, and that's when Islam started rising in the Middle East around 600 AD. When Rome's influence went away, Islam filled the void. And so forth. And there's a little history lesson in that. And again, I'm going to let Bill Federer fill in those blanks. But I want to tell you something. That whole region that I just showed you, folks, the former Soviet Union, that is now part of Europe, that the Roman Empire controlled both the eastern and the western sections, there's going to come a 10-nation confederacy out of that. Daniel saw that in those 10 feet, and they were mingled with iron and clay and iron. There was a mix. Just like what I just showed you, there's a mix in those nations today. There's a potpourri of ideology. There's a potpourri of religious zealotry. There's a potpourri of religious thinking. You've got Islamic nations that hate Catholicism. You've got Europe that's not a big fan of Islam. Some nations aren't. There's a lot. All of these nations are not a big fan of Christianity. So I can tell you right now, Christianity ain't going to be the mainstay during this time. Christianity, the true Christian, is going to be gone. There will be no true Christianity on the earth after the rapture, except for those 144,000 Jews in Israel that's evangelizing that little tiny nation like crazy, and millions are probably coming to Christ. That's about it. Folks, there's no indication there's going to be this massive evangelism during the tribulation. There are going to be tribulation saints. There's no doubt about it. A couple of questions for you as I wrap this up. We've got about 7 minutes. A couple of things to think about this morning. A couple of things about that this morning. What's missing? What is missing on that map? Can somebody tell me that map that I just showed you? What is glaringly absent from those? If what I just said is true, and I believe it is, the Bible says it is. I mean, it's the 10 toes are part of the division of the Roman Empire. Would somebody care to tell me what's glaringly missing in this discussion this morning? And who is glaringly missing in this discussion about nations and empires of the future? Bingo, Georgia. She got it. She gets a co-apple of the day. Carol Smith gets it. Bingo! Bingo! Look at everybody. Y'all are paying attention. Y'all are paying attention. Y'all are paying attention. Y'all are paying attention. There ain't nowhere on this image America is mentioned. Nowhere. Past, present, future. What I'm showing you this morning, folks, is the history of planet Earth and the future of planet Earth as it pertains to national Israel. Where does this have to do with the dragon that John saw with 10 horns on his head, 7 crowns and 10 horns? He controls these nations. He's always controlled these nations. He's been the power behind all of these. Always. That stone that you see is not aimed at any other part of the body but that 10-kingdom confederacy. And I want to read that final verse because I want you to notice what it says here in Daniel 2. I caught this and I want you to catch it too. I want you to catch this too. He don't just target the stone that is coming, that is cut out without hands, does not just target the feet, even though it is aimed at the feet. But I want you to look at this wording right here, folks. I want you to look at what it destroys. It destroys the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold. That is speaking of every nation that is illustrated on that empire, folks. You know what that is saying to me, and that's saying to us this morning? That all the kingdoms of the earth, when Christ comes back, are going to become like chaff to the summer threshing floor and wind carrying them away. There will be no place found for them, and the stone that smites that image becomes a great mountain and will fill the whole earth. Christ is coming back to destroy the demonic power over these nations. He's not just coming back to confront the 10-nation confederacy. He's coming back to confront the demonically controlled empires of the past, the present, and at that time it will be the present, and his kingdom will become the future. His kingdom will become the future. His kingdom will become the future. His kingdom shall become the future. All right. You got 5 minutes this morning. Since I was 3 minutes late, I'll give you 3 extra minutes today. You got any questions? You got any questions? We're going to pick this up tomorrow. We're going to talk about that split tomorrow. We're going to talk about that Roman Empire split. We're going to look at these nations. Folks, I can tell you, I want you to go back to that outline. I want you to see something. We know that this Grecian Empire is going to play a role in this, a huge role. The 5th and the 6th empires on this list are going to play a huge role in future events because there's going to be a revised Roman Empire, and then the beast is going to take over, and he is going to be, after the order of Alexander, the same principality that controlled Alexander the Great is going to control him, and he's going to form this 8th kingdom, that is going to be called Revised Greece, and I'll explain all that. We may get into that a little bit tomorrow, but I wanted to show you these, but understand this morning. This is all taking place right now, folks. All these events that you see in the Middle East and Europe, the Holy Spirit is orchestrating this whole thing. Let me tell you this about those nations. I'm going to go back to this tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Soviet Union tomorrow, and why that event in 1989 was so important as it relates to that map I just showed you. Europe was under the control of Rome. Europe was under the control of Rome. That map was under Trajan, but the Roman Empire had a jackbooted heel on all of Europe, and a lot of these former Soviet states, Czechoslovakia, which no longer exists, Yugoslavia, Poland, Romania, Belarus, Ukraine now, Uzbekistan, that's what they're named now. They've changed their name over 40 years. Those nations could not have joined any union because they were under Soviet domination. They're independent states. At the time of that map, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Poland, Romania, those 4 nations were part of the old Roman Empire territory. They could not have formed a 10-nation confederacy inside the old Roman Empire because the Soviet Union controlled them. The Soviet Union controlled them. And they were Soviet states. They were not autonomous. They were not autonomous with their government, meaning they was not free to choose who they served. I want you to think about this. In 1989, that all ended without a shot. I'm going to discuss that a little bit more tomorrow. I want you to be back with me. Tomorrow. All right. Iron Curtain has nothing to do with the feet, Joe. Iron Curtain has to do with communism. Has nothing to do with the feet. Germany persecuted the Jews. Would that be considered persecuting the Jews? Joe, the reason Germany's not seen on this, Israel was not a nation when they were persecuting the Jews. Everything that you see here happened while Israel was a nation. That is why you see there's a pause in the Roman Empire of the past and this revised Roman Empire that's going to take place now. That's why 1948 was so important, because she reformed as a nation state. And folks, the prophetic time clock started ticking down to the formation of those 10 nation kingdoms. The 10 toes and the 10 horns are the same. The reason Germany's not seen on this image, and she's not seen in the beast that we're going to see in Daniel 7, and the horns we're going to see in Daniel 7 and 8, Israel wasn't a nation. Israel was not a nation. Let me warn you all out there, and I'm saying this very kindly and gently. Listen to me. Do not overemphasize the symbols. The symbols mean nothing, and I'll tell you why I know that. When God shows Daniel these same images himself, when God comes to Daniel in a dream, he's going to show Daniel the same thing, but he's going to show it to him in a different manner. God doesn't show Daniel these images with gold, brass, silver, and iron. He shows them as a bunch of ravenous beasts. A lion, a leopard, an eagle, and some other creatures that we're going to get to. Do not get your mind focused on the symbol. The symbol means nothing. The symbol means nothing other than the fact that gold delves into silver. It denigrates into silver, which denigrates into brass, which denigrates into iron. Iron is the strongest of the metal, but it's the least valuable. Gold is the most precious. And the nations of the world have gone steadily down through the century without Christ. They're going to delve. Folks, the whole thing is going to end up with a mix of clay and miry clay and iron, which is a mishmash of nothing. That's what it symbolizes. But don't get caught up in the symbol, and don't Joe, nothing against you, but other people have done that. Well, the Iron Curtain must be that. No, it has nothing to do with the Iron Curtain. Folks, I'm going to tell you, Russia's not even seen on this. China's not seen on this. These nations are all there for a reason. They're all going to play a role in end-time Bible prophecy, these empires, and they've all persecuted Israel in the past when she was a nation. She was a nation. Everything has to do with Israel. Everything has to do with God's prophetic time clock. With God's prophetic time clock. Do not be caught up with the symbols. Be careful. Be careful about that. Atheism, I wouldn't consider a religion. Cedric, it's a delusion. I wouldn't be considering atheism a religion. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Let me show you this map one more time before we go, folks. These are the nations that you need to be concentrating on. This is what this whole Bible prophecy study is about. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Grecian, Roman, the revised Roman Empire, the revised Roman Empire, and then the final kingdom on this earth before Christ comes back, the final empire is the revised Grecian Empire, which will be basically the kingdom of the beast, and it will be the eighth kingdom and the final kingdom before the Lord returns, and that stone that is cut out without hands is going to come and destroy all of it. It's going to destroy the gold, the silver, the brass. And I'll read you the verse again right there as we close today. He's going to take care of the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, the gold will be broken to pieces together. All of these nations are going to come under the subjection of Christ, folks, and those that rebel against him, that have persecuted Israel, they will be destroyed. They will be destroyed, and the power behind them will be destroyed, and that is the power of the devil. That is the power of the devil. Did you learn something today? Did you learn something today? Susan, the Antichrist will not be Greek. I do not believe he will be Greek. No, I do not agree with that. I'll explain that. Daniel tells us where he's coming from. I don't think he's going to be Greek. Antiochus was a type of him, but I don't think he's going to be Greek. The Jews wouldn't accept a Greek, Susan. They're not going to accept a Greek. Did you learn something today? Put some fire in that house for me. Put some fire in that house for me. Put some fire in that house. We hope that you got something out of this. Stay with me. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time. Final Bible study of the week. We're going to pick this up tomorrow. Next week, we'll get into these beasts. And then it does get interesting. Folks, a warning to you, do not overemphasize the symbol. People do that all the time and get themselves so messed up in their head with prophecy, it ain't funny. Do not emphasize the symbol. The symbol is just a symbol. What it represents is what you need to be concentrating on, and why God used those symbols. And ultimately in this image, it was man's view of the kingdoms of this earth. God's view is not precious metals. God's view is that these nations are nothing but a bunch of ravenous animals that destroy people. And if you think about it, folks, as God always is, God's right. God's right. Hey, everybody, I love you. I'll see you tonight with our Faith Network shows on the Faith and the E Network. Until then, McDonald out on this Wednesday morning. God bless you. God bless your families. Have a happy holiday. Watch that Star of Bethlehem. I'm going to play that song going back out today. I love this song, one of my favorite Christmas carols. And I hope that you enjoyed this teaching today. Be blessed today. See you tonight.
O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining forth through the shadows dim, giving the light for those who long have gone, guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful beautiful
Beautiful,
star,
beautiful star
of
Bethlehem,
shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, the hope, the grace, for the redeemed, the good and blessed, yonder in glory when the crown is won. Jesus is now the star divine, brighter and brighter he will shine. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star,
beautiful star
of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a lamp to light the way unto the land of perfect day. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on, shine on.
The Bible contains the mind of God, the state of man, the way of salvation, the doom of sinners, and the happiness of believers. Its doctrines are holy, its precepts are binding, its stories are true, and its decisions are immutable. Read it to be wise, believe it to be safe, and practice it to be holy. It contains light to direct you, food to support you, and comfort to cheer you. It is the traveler's map, the pilgrim's staff, the pilot's compass, the soldier's sword, and the Christian's charter. Here, paradise is restored, heaven opened, and the gates of hell disclosed. Christ is its grand subject, our good the design, and the glory of God its end. It should fill the memory, rule the heart, and guide the feet. Read it slowly, frequently, and prayerfully. It is a mine of wealth, health to the soul, and a river of pleasure. It involves the highest responsibility, will reward the greatest labor, and will condemn all who trifle with its sacred contents. Pray it in, read it through, live it out, and pass it on.